So we're going to try a solving equations by taking square roots word problem, just to give you a sense of what that looks like. A person standing on a second floor balcony drops a key to a friend standing below the balcony. The keys are dropped from a height of 10 feet. The height in feet of the keys as they fall is given by the function h of t equals negative 16 t squared plus 10, where t, which it usually is in a word problem, is time in seconds since the keys were dropped. The friend catches the keys at a height of 4 feet. Find the elapsed time before the keys are caught. This is basically asking, when they say find the elapsed time, they're asking how much time did it take the keys to drop? And what were they dropping? Well, we had somebody standing at 10 feet and then someone catching them at what feet? Well, let's see. We have 10 feet and height. Let's see, where do they catch them? Oh, the friend catches at 4 feet. All right, so it goes from 10 to 4 feet, and they want to know the elapsed time, how much time passed. And they give you the function, h of t equals negative 16 t squared plus t. Now, I drew a lovely picture, which I'm going to show you now, going over that. So let me show you the picture. I'm not Picasso. Let me move this over a little bit. I'm no Picasso, but you can kind of get the idea, right? So at 10 feet, right here, 10 feet, right here, 10 feet, the person drops the keys. And then someone catches it at 4 feet, which is right here, 4 feet, 4 feet. All right, they want to know the elapsed time. Elapsed time means how much time passed, okay? And the formula that they actually give you is, let's see, here's the formula. H of t equals negative 16 t squared plus 10. That's the formula that they give you. All right. Now, we're trying to figure out how much time. So we're trying to find time. Time equals what? Time of what? Well, we have the different heights, right? If you'll notice, we start off here at 10, and there's a plus 10. T is for the time, and then you have to add the 10 feet where they're at. So if this is the 10 where it lands, we're trying to figure out how much time passed when it hits the 4 feet mark when the person catches it. So we are going to substitute 4 here, okay, is equal to negative 16 t squared plus 10. Okay, now I am going to now I can do this one of two ways. We can move the 4 over and factor it or find the zeros, or we can use it using radicals. And because we're practicing using square roots, we're going to do that. We're going to get the t alone. So here's my t. I want this alone. I'm going to move everything over to the other side of the equation. So I'm going to start with the 10. The 10 would be minus 10, minus 10. Okay? And that's going to give me negative 6 equals negative 16 t squared. All right, now with this, what we're going to have to do is we are going to still get the t squared alone. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 16. Negative 16. Okay? And that cross cancels this out. I get t squared equals 2 negatives. If I'm dividing them, give me a positive. Thank goodness, because I cannot, the negative of a square root, a negative number, finding the square root of a negative number is you can't do that. That is not possible right now for the level of math that we're doing. So now we're going to take the square root of both sides. We take the square root here and we take the square root there. This is going to give us a positive and a negative answer, square root of 16, because the number that would fit here, when you multiply it by itself, it could be the same number, both negative, or the same number, both positive. It'll still give me a positive 6 over 16. Okay, so we are going to Now this is a fraction, so we're going to actually have to, let's do this way. I'm going to separate this like this, and I'm going to do the positive side, which would be negative 6, negative 6 over 16, and the negative version, 6 over 16 negative. Now remember, we're looking for how much time passed. All right, so we have a fraction here, and the only way to simplify this with a radical is to create two radicals, one on the top and on the bottom. We're going to take the square root of 6 and the square root of 16 positive. And for here, we're going to do the same thing. Negative square root of 6 over the square root of 16. Now the square root of 16 is an even number, 4. So we have positive square root of 6 over 4. That's one of my answers. And we have negative square root of 6 over 4, another answer. Now this is a word problem, and this I've mentioned in a previous video. It has to make sense, and we're talking about time. So unless you have created, like I tell my students, unless you've created a time machine that goes back in time, the negative number could possibly be an answer. Now, because this is a t-squared, when you calculate it, you get two answers. Always, you're going to get a two answers. One of my answers is negative. That cannot be an answer to time. Again, unless you have a time machine, which we don't right now, at least none that I know of. So, so this one, because it doesn't make sense, is taken out. And we're only going to say one of the possible answers would be the square root of 6 divided by 4. Now, that is our answer for time. We're going to make an approximation just to give it a decimal so we can give that. And we use our calculator. And what we get is very simply the square root of 6, right? Which is somewhere around the neighborhood of 2.449, etc., or divided by 4. So we're going to take the square root of 6, we're going to divide it by 4, which I'm doing on a separate calculator, and I get a very magical number, which is 0.61. Okay, so about how much time passed? Oh, about half a second. So a little bit more than half a second. And that's how you figure it out. So remember, whenever you're doing with quadratics, you always have two solutions. And in word problems, sometimes one of them doesn't make sense. You have to be careful. The same thing goes with distance or with length and width. You can't have negative numbers with that, as with time. So that's our example. Good luck when you try your own.